for?
Well, last weekend in the two-man and into 3 heats, he's only 300ths behind. He struck to win the gold medal. This week, though, he's 900ths behind going into the heat. And the guy he's chasing, Czudai, I think he's got a little bit more experience than the guy he was chasing last week. So if I was a betting man, I would think that Weder could possibly do it, but Czudai looks pretty good right now.
And the man running third at the moment is Wolfgang Hoppe of Germany. He appears to be a solid third in the standings, as Hubert Schoesser in Austria won his 1600ths out of the bronze medal position. And Mark Tout in Great Britain won, has moved into the top 5. This competition has already been a nightmare for the United States. It will only get worse if Randy Will fails to finish ahead of the Jamaican sled, and that's a possibility heading into the final run. It was 6 years ago that Dudley Stokes and the Jamaicans burst onto the scene in Calgary. Back then they were a likable sideshow, but some feared for their lives the way they were driving.
Yeah, he had no clue about driving the big 4-man sleds, and this crash here I thought ended his career. To see him here, he's finally figured out how to drive a sled, Sean, and that's why he's where he is right now in the competition. He's got a clue about the sport finally.
The first sled to take the final run of the competition, Jamaica won in 15th place heading into the final run when they were disqualified from the two-man last weekend for being overweight. The Jamaicans said they were concentrating their efforts on the 4-man. They said they'd be a factor, that they'd finish in the top 15, and most people scoffed at them. Their best finish ever in the Olympics, 24th, 2 years ago. They are steadily improving.
Well, the start times is what's given them the chance to improve. There's a great start, 5:02, Sean. And they're track and field athletes that are finally acclimating to cold weather. They've had a real rough time out in bobsledding, coming from a warm country like Jamaica, to figure out how to run and sprint in cold weather temperatures.
Of course, their story inspired the movie Cool Runnings, which was intended to be humorous and in fact was. But what has developed here from the American standpoint is not in the least bit funny, as the Jamaicans have a chance to finish ahead of the only remaining American sled in the field. They're 23/100ths of a second behind Randy Will coming into this final heat, but they picked up 38/100ths on Will in the third heat.
Yeah, he's got good speed. He's got those DDG runners we're talking about on his sled. He's got a great piece of equipment underneath him, and he's got a great time, 52:51. That's a great heat. 52:39 in one heat, 52:51 in the other. Dudley Stokes has finally figured out how to drive a sled.
He had the 10th fastest time the entire field in the third run, and he had a good run here.
This line here is a good medium-high line as he comes around 13. Watch the head snap. A little bit of rough transition. He drifts over to this wall. In the old days, he would have driven off that wall into the next wall and back and forth. He's finally figured out the less driving you do, the better success you have.
So he has put the pressure on Randy Will and the Americans. They need a good run to stay ahead of the Jamaicans and finish this Olympic competition ahead of Jamaica 1. Now the last run of Randy Will's career, driving USA 1 in 13th place. After 3 heats, they've been dropping back with every run. They were 8th after the first run, 10th after the second, now 13th. And they need a time of 52.74 to finish ahead of the Jamaicans. That would be a faster time than their first heat today.
He had a disastrous first heat today. Very average start time of 5:06. 5:06 again. The Jamaicans beat him by 400ths at the start. I think the air was out of their bag in the first heat yesterday, Sean, when they didn't do better than the 8th place. They should have done a lot better than that with that fresh ice to work with.
Certainly Randy Will does not want to end his career, and he is retiring after the Olympics with the embarrassment of finishing behind the Jamaicans. It's a distinct possibility.
Well, he's losing time down the track here. And I think Randy just wants to get to the bottom, go home. His wife's expecting a baby in 10 days or so.
Through 13, hit the wall.
Not very good speed.
Remember the time to beat to stay ahead of the Jamaicans, 52.74. He didn't do it.
100th of a second.
The Jamaicans will finish ahead of the only remaining United States sled in the 4-man bobsled competition.
Well, Randy had a lot better trip through 13 in the first 3 or 4 times. Look at the sled climb the wall here. Now watch the head snap and take a look at the runner tips. Not a bad transition. I think he made a driver's error there. He just drove the sled over to that wall, let it come straight, but that's what cost him that a couple hundredths that he got beat by the Jamaicans by.
And no offense to the Jamaicans, but this is really the ultimate indignity for the United States bobsledding program. And for Dudley Stokes, no longer questions from the media about spectacular crashes. Today, he's talking about a very solid performance. Now, Wolfgang Hoppe in Germany won. He said when the day began, he'd be happy with the bronze medal. And that seems to be the best he can do. He starts the final run actually closer to 4th than 2nd place. He's 18 hundredths of a second behind Gustav Weder in 2nd place, while Schlosser in 4th was only 16 hundredths behind Hoppe before his run.
He's an athlete in the twilight of his career, Sean, and I think he'd be very content with that bronze medal.
He has a chance to become the most successful Olympic bobsled driver of all time on this run. Hoppe has 5 medals. The record is 6, held by the great Italian Eugenio Monti, who won 2 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze. Hoppe has 2 gold and 3 silvers in his career, so any medal here for Hoppe, and he would better Monti's all-time mark.
A lot of pressure on him. He knows this is his last run of his career. Look at the lead, minus 30 now. So he should be down there, but again, he could probably creep up on Weder too. He could post a great time here, put some pressure on Weder. Minus 33 now. You're looking at the greatest Olympic bobsled driver ever, unless some kind of disaster happens to him down here, Sean.
The man who won double gold in Sarajevo in 1984 and was voted East Germany's most popular athlete that year, about to make Olympic bobsledding history. Great speed around the corner and a medal, the 6th of his career for Wolfgang Hoppe.
Great time, Sean. That's the fastest time by 3/10 we've seen by anybody else. It's like a baseball player late in his career getting his 3,000th hit. This is where he did it, Sean, up top. One of the best starts we've seen in the competition. He's a big man. He's about 20 pounds heavier than he was 10 years ago. Look at the feet, his power step to get in. Watch all 4 of these guys get in. They're all big men. Watch their arms come up, down, and look at the heads behind them. Push bars out, great start.
He said he'd be happy with the bronze. He has at least that. It could be better. Hoppe has put the pressure on Gustav Weder, the man just ahead of him in the standings. We'll see his final run right after this.
Okay, 2 scoops of raisins make Kellogg's Raisin Bran taste so good, people forget it's good for you. What do you think?
It's delicious.
And?
It tastes good.
That's the same reason.
He stole my answer.
It's not an answer.
I agree with them. It tastes great.
Okay. You got the first part right. Kellogg's Raisin Bran tastes good, but...
Good for us!
There are 2 reasons to eat Kellogg's Raisin Bran: the taste.
And?
Classic television. Hogan's Heroes.
Green Acres.
Arnold Zipper. Who played him?
Nobody. He was the pig.
Remember Family Affair?
Mr. French.
I loved him.
Hey.
He's attractive.
Pete, Link, Julie. Okay, Ginger or Marianne?
Ginger was a bimbo.
Marianne. Marianne or Jeannie?
Beechwood aged Budweiser.
Jeannie.
Crisp, clean, classic.
At the start, Switzerland won and Gustav Weder in 2nd position, heading into this final heat. 9 hundredths of a second behind the leader, Harold Czudai, who has been the leader from the start of the competition. But Weder has been gaining time on the leader with each run. He's had the fastest time in each of the last 2 heats.
Hoppe just posted the exact same time he had in the first heat, Sean. I think that was an awesome time he threw down there, and I'm sure Weder's thinking about it.
Weder also thinking about trying to win his 2nd gold medal here in Hundertfossen after his victory in the 2-man last weekend. If he wins this race, he'd be the 5th man to win double gold in the same Olympics. and he tied the all-time record of 3 gold medals held by Meinhard Namer. Gustav Weder is on the run.
5-second start time. It was a little light in the third heat. 4:96. I'm sure he had a little meeting with his team to say, come on, guys, 5 seconds wasn't good enough. That's the best start of the third heat, or fourth heat.
After a disappointing third-place finish in the four-man in Albertville 2 years ago, he returns only one of his crewmen from that sled. Only Donat Auckland rode with him in the four-man in Albertville.
17 at the last clock, 17 at this clock. That means him and Hoppe are on the same keel right now.
Hoppe has already made Olympic history. Weder has a chance to do the same.
But Weder's got to put a good heat. He's got to be straight here in the graveyard. He's not. 79-mile-an-hour speed. That's not very good speed compared to the other sled. I don't think this is a great heat.
Gustav Weder stays ahead of Hoppe. At the very least, the silver medal for Switzerland.
I don't think it's what he's going to need, though. I think Czudai likes that time up top. Look at the heads. A little bit of snap in there, but the sled barely touches there. Both those bunks, they hit at the same time. He let the sled come straight, but he didn't have the speed that we saw the German sled have.
Another example of how treacherous that curve 13 is. Gustav Weder, the greatest bobsled driver in the world right now, struggled there throughout the 2-man and the 4-man competitions. Now he'll sit and wait to find out if he has won double gold as Harold Czudai is about to take his final run. He called the day in Albertville 2 years ago on which it was revealed he spied on his teammates for the East German secret police, the worst day of his life. This could be the best day of his life. The gold medal is Czudai's to win. He's been the leader throughout the competition, and he's on the run.
5:02, 5:03 start is what this team's pegged for right now. 5 flat. That's a good start for this team. That 900s lead, though, is now down to 5. And at this next clock, that start deficiency could really start to show up, Sean. There it is. Oh, it's down to 4 now. He's losing more time.
Harold Czudai, the leader from the beginning of the competition, watching his lead slip away. Notoriously bad at the start, he frequently makes up time at the bottom, and he is.
500s he's got right now. He's still got 500s. The graveyard coming up, curve 13. He's got to be straight for the gold medal. And he's skidding. Good speed, though.
Harold Czudai needs to hurry to the finish to win the gold medal and beat Gustav Weder. Czudai
got it.
Wins the gold medal.
Little trouble out of 13, Sean, but he held it.
From international embarrassment to national hero in only 2 years in the Olympics for Harold Czudai.
That man's disappointed.
And the Germans have overcome the disappointment of failing to win a medal in the 2-man competition last weekend by winning 2 medals in the 4-man. Czudai wins the gold, Hoppe wins the bronze, the silver to Gustav Weder. Meanwhile, the Americans had their worst finish in Olympic bobsledding since 1976.